Wait, did I tell you guys? Wait, did I tell you guys what I was doing yesterday? No? Okay, so yesterday I didn't stream because I had some stuff I actually had to get done. And so I had to go to the dealership because I needed to get an inspection sticker, an oil change, new wiper blades, and probably a tire rotation. I get there or whatever, and I remember I had this like booklet on my table that Honda had sent me, and basically like it's like oil change was like 30 bucks, you know, $10 off wiper blade replacements, all this shit. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I need all of these things. So perfect. But I'm an idiot and I forgot about it. So I got there and I'm like, hey, like, I'm kind of a dumbass and I forgot the little booklet at home that I got sent. If I just tell you which ones that I remembered, am I still able to get it? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. I was like, all right, cool. And so they were like, what'd you have? And I was like, oil change. And he was like, okay. So what was the oil change? And I was like, it was like $29.95 or something like that. And the guy was like, no, it wasn't. I'm like, wait. I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? He's like, no, we don't do that. What do you mean you don't do that? I literally got a thing in the mail for it. He's like, nah. He's like, the most we've done is like a weekly. It's like 65 bucks. And I was like, no. I remember very distinctly it was like $29.95. He's like, no, we've never done that before. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm about to be the Karen, dude. Like he actually, like he legitimately thinks I'm lying. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. He goes, well, unless someone, you know, someone at home can send you a photo, then that's not gonna happen. And I was like, well, okay. Let me see if I can find it on my phone, because I thought I saw I got an email or something about it. So I opened my phone. I'm scrolling through for like 3 or 4 minutes. And the guy's like, well, I'm gonna start writing you down for like what services you need. Do you still want the tire rotation? You know, I can't do the wiper blade because the wiper blade's only if you spend more than $150. Guys, now he's just f***ing with me. I'm like, okay, this is getting annoying. And then I'm going through my email, and son of a bitch, what do I find? So I open it, and I'm like, so what's that? And the guy goes, and he moves my phone, because he's trying to see if it's like a screenshot, and it scrolls, and he was like, he like zooms out, and then he zooms in, he's like checking everything to be sure it's legit, and I'm just like, and he was like, wow, yeah, I've never seen that before. And I was like, yeah, so you do them then? And he was like, well, I guess that must be a brand new thing.
You're the best.
I'm like, oh, okay. So he puts on the tire rotation, he puts on inspection sticker, he puts on oil, and he tells me, you know, it'll be, I don't know, it was like $100, right? It was like 107. And I go, and I'm like looking at it, and I go, what about the wiper blades? And he goes, can't do that. I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, the wiper blades, like, you know, he's like, you have to spend $150. I was like, what are you talking about? Because I'm looking at the services to be done. I told him I need wiper blades, I need tire rotation, I need an oil change, and I need an inspection sticker. And he's telling me you cannot get wiper blades for less than $150. I go, so now I like look around behind me really quick and I go, so let me get this straight. You're telling me I can't get wiper blades unless I spend $150? And he was like, yes. I go, you understand that is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard, right? And he was like, well, I'm sorry, that's how the coupon works. And I go, what? And he was like, that's how the coupon works. I go, I don't give a fuck about the coupon. I was like, you said that the first time. You said that like 5 minutes ago. You said the coupon only works. You only get $10 off wiper blades if you get $150 worth of work. And I said, yeah, that's fine, no problem. I still want the wiper blades. Like, hello? And the guy goes, oh, so you still want the wiper blades? I'm like, bro, how the f did you get a job? Like, I'm like, dude, yes. And he's like, just to be sure, you want the wiper blades, but I can't give you a coupon. I go, dude, I literally said, dude, put the f***ing wiper blades on, please. And he was like, oh, okay. I missed a step. I missed a step because I'm already annoyed in this story. I forgot. I missed one more important step. I didn't actually get to that point already. I had actually put on to take a look at my bed cover. So the bed cover on my truck is And remember I told you guys, and you're like, oh, WD-40, whatever. So I told the guy, I was like, hey, like, you know, like, if it's extra, you know, whatever, but like, you know, can you take a look and see if there's anything, like, what's wrong with my bed cover and what I need with it? And so he comes over and he, like, looks at it and he goes, oh, I know what the problem is. Because he's, like, trying to lift it up or whatever. He's like, oh, I know what the problem is. This, like, piece of rubber is supposed to be on the inside. It's, like, basically a hinge. It's like the piece of rubber that, like, it's like a sealant rubber where, like, it hinges. And this guy takes, like, I'm not joking, like this little paper clip ass thing and starts, like, poking it underneath, like, because it's, like, sticking out a little bit. He's, like, trying to poke it underneath. This dude sat there for 3 minutes. He got about this far. My bed cover is, like, it's a fucking truck bed cover. It's, like, bigger than my wingspan. It's fucking huge. And he spent 3 minutes, he got this far. And I'm, like, sitting there, I'm like, we're doing this now? Like, do I have to stand here? Like, what's going on? And so he gives up, calls in 2 other technicians, and they're all looking at it, and they're like, the fuck? And, like, one, and this is what I should have known something was fucked. Because one, they look talking to each other and like, oh, the second hinge isn't working. And they're like, yeah. He's like, yeah, this one's supposed to be over. He goes, yeah. The other guy goes, yeah, it's supposed to be under. I go, they just agreed and they said 2 different things. I was like, what the f did I just hear? So they're sitting there and they're trying to, like, bend it and they're trying to, like, move it. I go, I'm just sitting there staring. I was like, holy f, like, this is actually insane. And so after, like, 3 or 4 minutes, the other dude who was, like, picking it out with a paperclip comes over, and Paperclip Boy got a bigger paperclip. And he goes, oh, we gotta move the rubber underneath. And the 2 other technicians look at him like he's stupid. And they're like, what? He's like, oh, we gotta, and he gets over and he starts poking at it. And the guy goes, like, under his breath, I hear, what are you doing? He, like, turns, he goes, no, don't do that. He's like, oh, puts it in his pocket. And then they, like, kind of, like, looked at each other, and, like, the stupid paperclip walks away. And then the guys were like, yeah, when we do the other stuff, we'll take a look at it. And I go, holy, he was definitely fucking it up. That dude was definitely fucking it up. There's no way. So, you know, because, like, when the other guy goes, what are you doing? And, like, it was trying to be just quiet enough so I didn't hear it, but they're mechanics, so they probably, their hearing is not that great. So, like, I'm sitting there with undamaged hearing going, huh? What the f did you just say? So anyways, yeah, at that point, that's when, you know, we had the wiper blade conversation. After that, I was already annoyed. I was there for 4.5 fucking hours. I was there 4.5 fucking hours for a tire rotation, a sticker, an oil change, and some wiper blades. And there was nobody ahead of me. I figured I had some time to wait. So when I left, I went to go take a look at the lot, because I heard, like, used car prices are starting to crash. So I was like, you know, I wonder what they have on the lot. Just curious. Mostly just for my own curiosities. So I go outside. I'm wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants. It's New England. It's 20 degrees. So I last about 5 minutes outside before I go, nah, this sucks. So I go back inside, and I'm walking back through the dealership, and in the middle of the showroom floor, they have this upgraded Black Edition Honda Performance Ridgeline. So it's my truck on roids. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, dude, that thing's actually kind of nice. And I'm, like, looking in the window really quick. It's got, like, the black leather stitched seats, red ambient lighting and stuff. I'm like, oh, this thing's nice. This guy comes up behind me. He's like, how you doing, sir? And I'm like, oh, good, yeah. And he's like, oh, like, you know, can I answer any questions about it? And I was like, oh, I actually own this truck, but, like, the lower trim from, like, 2 years ago. And he's like, oh, do you want to hear more details about it? And I'm like, I'm going to be here a while. So I'm like, dude, I don't mind wasting this dude's time for a little bit. And so I didn't actually plan to waste his time. I just wanted to kind of hear about it. And so I'm talking to him, whatever. And he tells me his name. He's like, oh, Daniel. I'm like, oh, Jeff. I'm walking with him, and I was like, wait a minute. This guy's, like, I know that name. I don't know why. I knew the name, but I couldn't figure out why I knew the name. So we sit down, and he goes, you're, like, kind of familiar to me. I can't figure out why. 2 things pop in my head. He either knows me from streaming, or this is the dude who sold me my first truck. And I go, didn't you sell me my other truck 2 years ago? And he goes, oh, I did!
Hello, what's up?
Oh, thank God. I was so happy it wasn't the other one. he was like, I was like, oh yeah, like, I was like, I'm sometimes bad with names or faces, like I sometimes forget. And he goes, no, it's me. I've put on like 70 pounds and grew a beard. And I was like, oh. I was like, oh, like, I just thought I forgot him, but okay then. So we're talking. He's like, yeah, you're the streamer guy. And I was like, yep, that's me. And he was like, how's that going nowadays? And I was like, he does remember. He remembered. He remembered. I was like, oh, fuck. And I was like, it's doing okay. And he was like, well, what was your channel name again? And I was like, fuck, here we go. I told him what it was. I was like, oh, it's Flats or whatever. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he like looks up. He's like, wow, holy shit. He's like, didn't you do like YouTube stuff too? So he like, I see him go to YouTube and he starts clicking and typing it in. And the fucking Ramatra videos out going to the moon. And he's like, he's going, holy shit. You know, like, he's like, yeah, your stuff has changed a lot in the last 2 years. And I was like, so he says to me right off the bat, he goes, you want to test drive that truck? And I was like, well, I don't want to, like, you know, I don't know. I'm not really that interested. So like, I don't want you guys to take it off the floor and stuff. He goes, no, I'm going to take it off the floor for you. So they open up the fucking doors, move like 6 cars out of the way and drive this thing off the middle of the floor, you know? So they open up the whole fucking dealership, push everything out of the way. They're moving fucking chairs. There's like a bunch of like, you know, like there's like a sitting area where people like sit and wait for their fucking, you know what I'm talking about? The mechanics and stuff like that, like the waiting area. They move a bunch of the chairs, they're moving them all out of the way, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, I'm not even interested in buying this truck, but okay. So they move everything out of the fucking way, and they drive this thing. There's like a big bow tie on it. They take the bow tie off all this shit, and they fucking wheel this thing out the front of the front. And it sounds nice. It's not like mine. It had like it has dual exhaust, modified exhaust. I'm sitting there, I'm like, god damn, that thing's actually beautiful. So they pull it out, pull it around the front, and the guy just throws me the keys and goes, go have fun for a bit. And so I was like, I mean, if I'm stuck here for the next few hours, I might as well. So I hopped in. And I started it. Sounds great. Fucking sound system's on. Has everything you could ever want. Like heated steering wheel, seats, cooled seats, cooling steering wheel. And you can tint the windows. Like you can like turn up the tint, and like the windows just like there's like a bunch of like little like defroster things, but there's a second row of them that's tints. And I like click it, and like the back window just goes from like kind of tinted to just fucking black. And I was like, wait, that thing's cool. And so eventually I start it up and I drive off. I'm on this road. It's like 50 mile an hour speed limit, whatever. And there's like nobody out. It's middle of the afternoon on a Monday. All right, I'm like, all right, let's see what he can do. And so I get to 55 mile. I'm like just starting to push it, like 55, 60, you know, like whatever. I get to 55 and the wheel starts going. I was like, uh-oh. So I'm like, I'm immediately panicked. I'm like, that's not good. So I don't push it much further. I wait to get to a different stretch of road because I was like, maybe it was the road I was on. You know, like, you know how like the road's like sometimes a little fucked. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just like one of those like areas. So I wait till I get a little bit further and then I try again. Things fucking rattling. I go, all right, turn around, bring it back. I was gone like 10 minutes, and I get back, and the guy's like, dude, you're back already? I was like, yeah, I'm back. And he's like, so what'd you think? And I was like, honestly, it's beautiful. It's honestly a great looking truck. It kind of rattles. And he was like, what? And I was like, the wheel, it fucking rattles at 55. And he was like, no shot. And I was like, no, I'm dead serious. It has 12 miles on it, and it's rattling. And it has aftermarket tires and rims. So I was like, maybe the tires are too big for the truck, right? But they didn't look that big. I was looking at it, I was like, they don't look that big. But it is a smaller truck, so I was like, you know, maybe that's what it is. Because like, if you have big tires on a truck, like, and you go fast, like for example, Raptors, like big Raptors, like that have like the 37-inch tires. If you take those really fast, they do a little shaky shake. Not that much, but like sometimes. At least I've heard. My friend is a Ford tech, but it's not a Ford, it's a Honda. So I was like, okay. So the guy checks, and it's not. It's actually the same size tire as stock, and the rims are aftermarket, but it's the correct size. They were not too big. So I'm like, then that's a little interesting. And so the guy goes, oh, well, it was sitting for like a week. You know, maybe the, tires might have got, I don't know what was the word they used, but he tried to feed me a little bit of bullshit. It was sitting for too long. He was like, oh, the tires sometimes, they sit for too long. And flat spotting or something like that after a week. And I go, well, that's not good because my truck sits for much more than a week at a time. And he was like, it's probably the wheel alignment then. I'm like, uh-huh. He's like, yeah, it's probably the wheel alignment. Yeah, you know what? I could go ask a tech. And so he walks off, but he doesn't realize I scooted out of my chair, so I'm like leaning back. He doesn't go over to the service department. He goes to the sales part. I was like, dude, he went in the back for like a coffee for like 5 minutes. So he comes back. I'm like, dude, he came from the wrong direction. And so he's like, yeah, they said it's most likely a wheel alignment. That's something that can be fixed very easily. And so I'm sitting there and I'm just like, He was like, are you interested? I was like, I'm not honestly that interested, but, And he's like, are you at least interested in hearing how much your truck's worth? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I didn't tell him, but I had KBB'd my truck last month, and it said it would be worth about $35,000. He's talking to me, and he's like, yeah, like, what are you looking to get for it? So I'm like, I'll shoot high, right? I'm gonna shoot high a little bit. I said 40. I said 40-ish. And he goes, 40 might be a little high, I think. He's like, honestly, 40 like 2 or 3 months ago, absolutely. But he's like, honestly, right now, car market's starting to crash a little bit. I think you'll probably get an offer in the low 30s. And I was like, I'm at least willing to hear the offer. Offer comes back, 27,000. And I go, that's a joke, right? And he's like, dude, I'm not kidding. And I was like, yeah, that's a literal joke. And he's like, so I actually run a KBB check on my truck by myself. And he wasn't that off, actually. My Blue Book offer went from 35,000 to 29,000 in 1 month. What they probably did is they probably saw the low number, and then they probably went under that a little bit, so that when I go no, they come back with a slightly higher number, and it's like the psychology aspect of, oh, we're gonna give you more money, And I was like, Danny, bro, that's just not gonna happen. Absolutely not. And so he's like, no, listen, I think we can get a little bit more. I think it's doable, but 40 just ain't gonna happen. And I was like, I understand 40 might be a bit of a stretch if it was put at 29, but I think 27 is just kind of a ridiculous offer. And also, when I looked at the paper, I was like, why did you write fair condition? And he was like, I can double check on that. And I go, because it's sitting in the back. You know that, right? And he's like, yeah. And dude, they're calling me. I'm not even joking. Bro, I'm not even joking. They're calling. Okay, it ended. I was afraid of it ending, and then, yeah, because I got, like, notifications on here, so it's, like, Grubhub and shit, so I was a little bit spooked. But they're watching. They're watching Monka W. Anyways, though, what was I saying? I don't remember. I was like, yeah, no, listen, dude, I get it, but that offer just ain't gonna happen. And you've seen it. If you haven't seen it yet, it has 4,200 miles on it. I think I said 41 because I thought it was 41, but it's actually 4,200. I was like, dude, it has 4,200 miles on it. It's not in fair condition. Thing's fucking barely been driven. It still smells like a new car. At least that's what I've been told by the people that get into it. For me, at this point, I'm just used to it. So I'm like, really? Like, one of my buddies got into it like a month ago, and he was like, dude, it's like he's got the new car smell. What the hell? I was like, he's like, haven't you had this thing for like 2 years? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you just not drive it? I was like, actually, good point. No, I don't. I was like, nah, that ain't gonna happen. And so he's telling me like price of the truck and stuff like that, and I was like, nah, that's not gonna happen. I was like, that's way out of it. Like, I was like, dude, I wasn't even gonna consider this, but like, if it was like not that much, I would consider it. But no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not really interested. So we go back and forth a little bit more. He's like, what if we got to the point where we were at like a $10,000 difference, where we were at one point, like, I was just like, wow, you guys are coming. It came down a good amount. I was like, can't do it. We would go on for a little bit more, and he was like, dude, like, because I don't remember what number. I said a number to him, and I was like, dude, that would probably be like the most I'd be even willing to do. And even then, I'm still not really not that interested. Like, you gotta realize I'm very much a first impressions type person. If I drove a car off the lot that had 12 miles on it and the steering wheel is rattling, dude, I don't want that thing. Dude, I was just like, dude, like, you're never gonna undo that experience in my head of me driving it off the lot and the wheels start rattling. That's not gonna happen. Like, I'm not gonna be interested in that. And so, like, you know, they were talking about, like, what if we get a different one in? Like, would you buy that one? And I was like, dude, like, bro, like, you're really pushing our lucks here today. We go on for a bit, and I was like, my dude, I really don't need a truck. Like, I really don't. Like, I appreciate you taking the time. I feel bad wasting your time, but it's just not gonna happen. So eventually the GM, he's like, hey, like, would you mind talking to my boss really quick? And I was like, what? He's like, dude, we have a new GM here since, like, you know, since you've been here. He's actually very new, and things have been going not that well, like, because the car market's crashing, and, you know, we're losing a lot of money on a few cars right now, so he just wants to make sure that, like, people are doing their jobs. And I go, all right, I got you. So the GM comes over, and I basically have him on. I'm like, yeah, this dude's awesome, whatever. And so the guy asked me what I do for a living, and I was like, well, how much time do you have? So he's like, what do you mean? I go, it's not really gonna be easy to explain, because, like, the dude's like, I would say, like, late 50s, early 60s, old Italian man, and he's like full Italian. Like, he is not of American descent. And so I was like, I like make videos and stuff. He's like, what? And I was like, oh, like, you know, like, I make videos and stream, like, playing video games. And he's like, what do you mean? He doesn't get it. I was like, I play video games and make, like, YouTube videos out of them. And he goes, what the fuck? He's like, dude, you said home naked and play video games and make money? I go, oh, I literally go, what? Like, this guy tries not to fucking laugh because he's standing behind me and goes, it's like, holy shit, he just said that. I go, no, that's not it at all. And he turns to him, he turns to Danny, and the other guy, he goes, dude, America, the land of opportunity, man. Like, I'm trying not to lose it. I was like, what are you talking about? That's not what I said. And I was like, no, it's not like that at all. And he's like, what? And the other guy goes, no, like, he's really exceptionally, like, good at what he does. He's like TikTok. You know those TikTok people that have lots of followers? He's like them. And the guy goes, oh, you have TikTok. And I go, Jesus Christ, dude, what the fuck? It's never ending. Let me out. And so I was like, I wanted to fucking just leave at that point, but my truck wasn't ready yet. And so I was like, yeah, I guess you could say that. And he was like, oh, that's awesome. America's just a great place. So much opportunity here. I'm like, dude, what? Dude, did you? I was just sitting here. I'm like, how long have you been here, bro? Like, and so I eventually just kind of, he was like, what do you drive? And I was like, I have a 2020 Honda Ridgeline. He goes, how many miles? And I was like, 4,100. And he goes, what? What do you mean 4,100? And I was like, how else do I say 4,100 miles? I was like, that's 4,100 miles. And the guy goes, you don't need a new truck. You don't even need a new car. What? I can't even. And he's like, he looks at that day. He's like, I can't even blame you. There was no way you were gonna sell this thing. I was like, one, I think I just saved his job. Thank God. Two, I was like, holy f***, like what was this interaction? He just starts chatting with me. He's like, yeah, like, he's like, you know, I come to check because, you know, it's been a very tough month. I was like, yeah. He's like, car market's crashing. We've been losing a lot of money. And I was like, oh yeah, I had heard, because he mentioned they had bought a Tesla last month. and apparently they bought the Tesla at like top dollar market value, and everything's crashed since then. Apparently they've lost like $15,000 already on that Tesla. They were talking about like how they're probably gonna lose even more. And I was like, oh, that's tough, dude. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, weren't you guys like probably raking it in for like 2 straight years off of like the extremely inflated car market? Like, I don't feel that bad. Like, he's like, yeah, it's been really tough. And he's like, I was hoping, you know, I want to sell this truck, but you know, nobody wants to buy a truck like this from Honda. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, so you're trying to sell it to me, but people don't want to buy it. That's interesting. And then I thought to myself, I wonder if I could come back here in a month and it's still gonna be sitting there, and then they would take the offer I gave them. Because like, basically, the difference, I told them I'd give them 10 grand. I told them 10 grand. I told them I'd trade my truck in and give them 10 grand for it. They wanted 25. I was like, not happening. I'm not gonna happen. The closest we got to was 15. I was like, nope, not happening. Not happening. And so I was like, I'm not even that interested. I'm really not even that interested. So anyways though, but luckily like 30 minutes later my truck was done. But yeah, I basically just chilled there for the next 30 minutes like talking about video games. I was just like, whatever. Yeah, so that's why I didn't stream yesterday. It was like a whole fucking ordeal for a whole day. And then I got back and I had a few other things I had to sort out too, so that's where I was yesterday. You know what's funny though? There was one part I forgot to mention. Is when he remembered me, we talked about how I bought my first truck from him, and he was also talking about how apparently that was one of his first car deals ever. And for those who don't know the story about how I bought my truck the first time, we had a deal, like basically all done, like drawn up, you know, pretty much had agreed, but nothing was signed. So basically I had this whole thing drawn up, but my first adult car, my mom co-signed with me, because I hadn't finished college yet, and it was like a 2014 CRV. So I wanted, you know, because she was like, because she helped me get that car, I was like, you know, I feel like I should check with my mom, make sure it's fine that I'm trading in the car that she co-signed with me. My mom was like, wait right there. I was like, what? I hung up, didn't say anything. That's not good. 15 minutes later, she showed up at the dealership. And
you tangled with the wrong man.
She was like, so what are you looking at? I showed her the truck and she was like, it's nice. You sure you want it though? And I was like, what? She's like, I think you need something bigger. And I was like, honestly, I don't really need a massive truck. Like, I'm okay. And she's like, I'm not a huge fan of it, but okay. So we go back to the desk and sit down, and she sees the price and everything. She goes, absolutely not. I was like, what? She's like, absolutely not. It's not happening. And so we had agreed on a price at the time of, I think of like, it was listed at $38,500. I think I was gonna buy it for $33,000. And she goes, nope, too high. And I was like, what? She's like, no, too high, not happening. And so the guy was like, well, we already like kind of agreed. And she goes, I don't care. So he's like, what? I was like, no, that's not happening. So he's like, what do you think is fair? So she's like looking through everything. She's like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. And he's like, man, that's like the taxes. She goes, I still don't like taxes. It's too high. He's like, I can't lower the taxes. She goes, yes, you can. He's like, no, I can't do that. And she goes, yes, you can. You can lower the original price and the taxes come down. I was like, oh my God. I was like, holy shit. And so I always got to give it to her. She got it all the way down to 31,000. The manager had come out like 4 times. And then we pretty much agreed on 31,000. Like, she said, yeah, it sounds okay. And basically they draw all the papers up and she goes, actually, I want 30,500. We had been there for like 8 hours at this point. She goes, actually 30,800 or 500 sounds fair to me. And they were like, man, we can't go any lower. Like, we're not doing this anymore. Like, we're done. We're done. This is our final offer. And she goes, okay, I hear you, but he came in here today for an oil change, tire rotation, and some wiper blades and stuff. He had to pay for those for the other vehicle. I want you to reimburse that. And they were like, what? Show the receipt. Did it today. Car's not even his. Hasn't even been taken out of the shop yet, so. And they were like, man, we can't do it. We're not going back in again. We're not doing any more papers. And she was like, well, you're gonna have to figure out something, because it ain't, I'm not saying anything until that's fixed. And so they agreed to give basically in the contract was an extra free oil change, an extra free wiper blade, and an extra free tire rotation on the account that the car was bought on. So when I bring it back for service, it would already have a paid for tire rotation, wiper blades, and oil change. But I got a sticker that day too. My mom goes, what about the sticker? He's like, ma'am, that's the state. I can't do anything about it. She goes, still paid for the sticker. They were losing it. And at this point, I was like, Ma, it's like $40. I want to go home. And she was like, but you paid for it. I was like, Ma, honestly, at this point, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I want to go home. I honestly want to go home. So she gave it up, and she's like, fine, fuck it. So I got 2 free oil, because you got one for free. So I got 2 free oil changes, technically, free wiper blade rotation, and a free tire rotation when I bought it. And and a full tank of gas. That had to be included, of course. But it got worse. So when I bought it, I wanted a bed cover, because it's, in New England, it gets cold and, snowy and stuff. So the bed cover was $1,300 for like I think it was like, technically it was like, no, it wasn't $1,300. That's too high. I think it was $1,100. I think it was $1,100 for the bed cover plus installation. I bought the bed cover, and then I was there like 3 hours. It doesn't take 3 hours to install it. So my mom got pissed and came down. This was like a week later. And they had like fucked up my registration. So like it wasn't like totally ready yet. But they were also doing the bed cover anyways. But that was the other part. They had to pay for a rental car. I forgot about that. They had to pay for a rental car while my truck was getting ready. So I had a rental car for a week. I was there for like 3 hours for this bed cover. So my mom comes down and she flips the fuck out about how, 1, the registration wasn't ready and it had been a week. And 2, because I've been waiting for 3 hours for this bed cover to be put on, and it doesn't take 3 hours for it to be put on. And so the manager got kind of pissy with my mom. It was like, these things take time. And I was like, no. They're like, man, these things take time. And she was like, bullshit. Like, it doesn't take 3.5 hours. Like, plus we had to wait for the registration stuff done. It's not done. Like, you guys have been fucking up like crazy. And so I think my mom, I actually don't even remember. I think my mom threatened to like cancel the deal or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but my mom like basically said like, all in, I'm like, I will do whatever it takes to get this shit fucked. So to like appease her, they completely knocked off all charges for work and gave employee pricing. So instead of the $1,100 or $1,200 for the bed cover, I paid $800 for just the bed cover itself. No labor for installation. I was like, how do you keep doing it? I was actually just like appalled. I was like, how did you do that? I still don't understand to this day, but yeah, it was very interesting to say the least. But that was how I got the bed cover for cheap. I got it for employee pricing plus no labor, and yeah, it was very interesting first one. And that's what we were talking about. He was like, I learned a lot dealing with you and your mom the first time. It was when my first car sold. I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure you learned a lot. I even said to him, I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I started to feel bad for you at some point.
Mom?
But yeah, it was a very interesting, and it was one of his first deals too. So I'm sure it was a good time. But yeah, so that's what I was doing yesterday. That was basically how they ended up how they tried to sell me something I didn't want, but I wasn't really interested. So